The Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec, Chapter 28. Preamble. The spirits have always said, the form means nothing, but the thought is everything. Say your prayers in accordance with your convictions, and in the manner which is most agreeable to you, since a good thought is worth more than numerous words which do not touch the heart. The spirits do not prescribe an absolute formula for prayers. When they do, it is merely to help us form our ideas and, above all, to call our attention to certain principles of the Spiritist teachings. On the other hand, perhaps it is to offer guidance to those who find it difficult to express their ideas, because there are some who believe they have not prayed properly if they have not been able to formulate their thoughts well. The collection of prayers contained in this chapter is a selection of some that the spirits have dictated on several occasions. Beyond doubt, they could have dictated other prayers, in different terms, appropriate to various ideas and special cases. Nevertheless, the style is of little importance if the thought is essentially the same. The object of prayer is to elevate our soul to God. The diversity of forms should not establish any difference between those who believe in him, and even less between the adepts of Spiritism, because God accepts all of them when they are sincere. Therefore, you should not think of this collection of prayers as absolute formulas, but rather as a varied selection of those received from the spirits. It is a way of applying the moral principles as taught by Christ that have been developed in this book, a complement to their writings based on our duties before God and our neighbour, in which we are again reminded of all the principles of the Spiritist teachings. Spiritism recognizes the prayers of all cults as being good, as long as they come from the heart and not just from the lips. It does not impose them, nor does it condemn them. God is far too great, according to the Spiritist teachings, to consider repelling a voice that implores or which sings his praises, just because it is not done in this or that manner. Anyone who wants to launch anathema against any prayers that are not within their own formulas will prove they know nothing of the greatness of God. To believe that he has some kind of attachment to a certain formula is to attribute to him the smallness and the passions of humanity. According to St. Paul, one of the essential conditions of prayer is that it is understandable, so as to move our spirit. For this to happen, it is not enough that it be said in a language understood by the person who is praying, since there are prayers spoken in everyday language that say little more to our thoughts than they would in a foreign language. For this reason, they do not touch our hearts. The overabundance of words and the mysticism of the language frequently suffocate the few ideas they may contain. The principal quality of a prayer is clarity. It should be simple and concise, without useless phraseology or an excess of adjectives, which are nothing more than decoration. Each word should be of value in expressing an idea and in touching a fibre of the soul. In short, it should cause you to reflect. This is the only way in which it can reach its objective, since in any other manner it is nothing but a noise. However, In most cases, it can be seen with what distraction and inconstancy they are said. We see lips that move, but by the expression on the faces and by the sound of the voices, we can verify that it is only mechanical, a solely exterior act to which the soul remains indifferent. The prayers in this collection are divided into 5 categories as follows: 1. General prayers, 2. Prayers for oneself, 3. Prayers for the living, 4. Prayers for the dead, 5. Prayers for the sick and the spiritually obsessed. With the objective of calling special attention to the aims of the various prayers and making their meaning more comprehensive, they are preceded by preliminary comments, explaining the motives behind each one, entitled Preface. The Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec, Chapter 28, A Collection of Spiritist Prayers, Section 2, The Lord's Prayer. The Spirits recommend that we begin this anthology with the Lord's Prayer, not simply as a prayer, but also as a symbol. Of all the prayers, this one is considered the most important because it came from Jesus himself. See the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 9 to 13. And because it can substitute all others according to the intention and the thoughts that are joined to it. It is the most concisely perfect model, a truly sublime work of art in its simplicity. With effect, in its much reduced form, it manages to summarize all of the duties of humans before God, before ourselves, and before our neighbour. It includes a mark of faith, an act of adoration and submission, a request for those things necessary to terrestrial life, and the principle of charity. Whoever says this prayer for another asks for them what they would ask for themselves. Nevertheless, because of its shortness, the deep meaning of some of its words escapes most people. This is usually because they say them without thinking of the meaning of each of the phrases. They say them just like a mechanical formula, whose efficiency is proportional to the number of times it is repeated. This number is usually Kabbalistic, 3, 7, or 9, in view of the ancient superstitious belief in the power of numbers and of their practical use in magic. In order to fill the void often felt by the shortness of this prayer, the spirits have recommended and helped us to add a commentary to each of the phrases that increase their meaning and shows the best way to make use of each one. In accordance with individual circumstances and the time at your disposal at any given moment, you can say the Lord's Prayer in its simple form or in the more developed way. The Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec, Chapter 28, Section 3.1. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Lord, we believe in you because everything about us reveals your goodness and your power. The harmony of the universe is proof of wisdom, prudence, and a foresight that surpasses all human faculties. The name of a being who is supremely great and wise is written on all the works of creation, from the humble grass and the smallest insect up to the stars and planets in space. on all sides, we see proof of a paternal solicitude. Blind, then, is the person who does not recognize your works. Prideful is the one who does not worship you, and ungrateful is the one who does not give thanks to you. The Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec, Chapter 28, Section 3.2. May your kingdom come. Lord, you gave humanity laws full of wisdom, which would make them happy if only they observe them. With these laws, justice and peace could be established, and all could help each other instead of causing mutual harm as they do. The strong should uphold the weak instead of crushing them. The evils that are born of abuses and excesses of all kinds could be avoided. All the miseries of this world stem from the violation of your laws, because there is not one infraction that does not bring its fatal consequences. You gave the animals an instinct that traces the limits of their necessities, and to which they respond mechanically. However, to humanity, as well as instinct, you also gave intelligence and reason. Still more, you gave the liberty to keep or to violate those of your laws that concern each one personally, or rather the faculty to choose between good and evil, so that we have the merit and the responsibility for our actions. No one can protest ignorance of your laws, because in your paternal providence you desired that they be recorded in the consciousness of each one, without distinction as to cults or nationality. In this manner, those who violate them do so because they despise you. The day will come when, according to your promise, all will practice these laws. Then incredulity will have disappeared. All will recognize in you the supreme Lord of all things, and the reign of your laws will herald your reign here on earth. Lord, deign to hasten the accession of your reign by giving humanity the necessary enlightenment that will conduct them along the pathway of truth. The Gospel According to Spiritism, Chapter 28, Section 3.3. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If submission is the duty of a son towards his father, of the inferior towards his superior, how much greater is that of a being towards their Creator? By the words, "Your will be done, Lord," it is for us to observe your laws and to submit ourselves without lamentations to all your divine designs. Humankind will become submissive when they understand you are the source of all wisdom, and that without you we can do nothing. Then they will do your bidding on earth as do your elected ones in heaven. The Gospel According to Spiritism, Chapter 28, Section 3.4. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us the necessary food for the maintenance of our physical strength, and give us spiritual nourishment for the development of our spirits. The animals find their pastures, but humans depend on their own activities and their mental resources to produce their food, because you gave them freedom. You have said You will earn your bread by the sweat of your brow. And with these words, you made work an obligation. That makes us exercise our intelligence in the search for the means to provide our necessities and to attend to our well-being. Some by their material work, others by their intellectual work. Without work, humanity would remain stationary and could not aspire to the happiness of the superior spirits. Please help those of good will who depend on you for what is necessary, but not, however, those who take pleasure in being lazy and like to receive all things without any effort, nor those who seek superfluity. How many succumb through their own fault, through negligence, through being improvident, through ambition, or through not being content with what you have given them? These are the authors of their own misfortune and do not have the right to complain, since they are punished according to the manner in which they have sinned. Nevertheless, you will not abandon even these, because you are infinitely merciful and will extend a providential hand to them if they return to you with sincerity, like the prodigal son. Before lamenting our bad luck, we ask ourselves if it is not our own fault at each misfortune that befalls us. We try to verify if we could have avoided it. We repeat to ourselves that God has given us intelligence to be able to resolve every difficult situation, and that we must put this intelligence to good use. Seeing that humans are subject to the law of labour here on earth, give us the courage and the strength to fulfil this law. Give us also prudence and moderation, so that we may not lose its fruits. Give us our daily bread, Lord, or rather the means of acquiring our necessities through work, because no one has the right to ask for superfluity. If we are unable to work, we will have confidence in your divine providence. If it is within your design to test us with great privation despite our efforts, we accept this as a just expiation for the faults that we have committed in this life or in a previous one. We know that you are just and that there are no undeserved penalties, since you never punish without motive. Dear Lord, preserve us from envying those who have what we have not, or those who have superfluous things at their disposal, when we are wanting in what is necessary. Forgive them, Lord, if they forget the law of charity and love towards one's neighbour, which you taught. Withdraw also from our spirit any idea of denying the existence of your justice when we see evil prosper and the unhappiness that sometimes befalls a good person. Thanks to this new enlightenment given to us, we know that your justice never fails, nor does it make exceptions. The material prosperity of an evil person is as fragile as their bodily existence, and they will experience terrible reverses, whereas life will be eternal bliss for those who suffer with resignation. The Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 28, section 3.5. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Forgive our offences, as we forgive those who offend us. Lord, each one of our infractions against your laws is an offence committed against you. It is a debt contracted which sooner or later will have to be paid. We implore your infinite mercy, subject to our promise to employ every effort not to incur further debts. You made charity an express law for everyone, but charity does not only consist of helping our fellow beings in their needs, but also in forgetting and forgiving offences. With what right do we demand your indulgence if we lack charity towards those who have given us motive for complaint? Lord, give us the strength to stifle within ourselves all resentment, hate, and rancour. Do not let death surprise us with a desire for vengeance in our hearts. If you approve of our being taken from this world today, help us to be able to present ourselves completely cleansed of animosity, just like Christ, whose last words were in favour of his tormentors. The persecutions that those who are evil inflict upon us constitute part of our earthly tests. We should accept them without a murmur, as we should accept all tests, without cursing those who, by their wrongdoing, open a pathway to eternal happiness for us. Because you told us through the intermediary of Jesus that blessed be those who suffer for the sake of justice. Consequently, blessed is the hand that injures or humiliates us, because the mortifications of the body strengthen our soul, and we shall be raised up from our humiliations. Blessed be your name, Lord, because you have taught us that our destiny is not irrevocably fixed after death. We will find in other existences the means by which we may make atonement and repay all our past debts. Thus, we will be able to realize in a new life all those things to help our progress that we were unable to do in this one. In this manner, all the apparent irregularities of life are finally explained. The light is cast over our past and our future as a brilliant sign of your supreme justice and of your infinite goodness. The Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 28, section 3.6. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. Lord, give us the necessary strength to resist all suggestions coming from the evil spirits, who will try to divert us from the path of goodness by inspiring us with evil thoughts. Nevertheless, we too are imperfect spirits, incarnated on earth to expiate our sins and better ourselves. The cause of evil lies deep within our souls, and the evil spirits do nothing more than take advantage of our inferior tendencies to tempt us. Each imperfection is an open door to their influences, whereas they become powerless and give up any attempt against perfect beings. Everything we do to send them away will be useless as long as we do not put up a decided and unbreakable decision to practice goodness, together with a total renunciation of all evil. Therefore, it is against ourselves that our efforts must be directed. Then the evil spirits will leave us naturally, since evil attracts them, whereas goodness repels them. Lord, uphold us in our weaknesses. Inspire us through the voices of our guardian angels and the good spirits with a desire to correct our imperfections, so that we may prevent access to our soul by evil spirits. Evil is not your work, Lord, because the source of all goodness cannot engender any badness. It is we ourselves who create it when we infringe your laws, and through the ill use we make of the liberty you concede us. When humanity has learned to keep your laws, then evil will disappear from earth, just as it has already disappeared from more advanced worlds. Evil does not constitute a fatal necessity for anybody, and only appears to be irresistible to those who take pleasure in it. Therefore, if we have a desire to practice evil, we can also have a desire to practice goodness. For this reason, dear God, we beg your assistance and that of the good spirits, so we may resist temptation. The Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 28, section 3.7. So be it. Dear God, may the realization of our desires be pleasing to you, and may we bow down before your infinite wisdom. In all things that we are unable to understand, may your blessed will be done, and not ours, since you only desire our improvement and know what is best for us. We offer you this prayer, dear Lord, not only for ourselves, but also for all suffering creatures, both incarnate and discarnate, for our friends and our enemies, for all those who ask for our help. We beseech your mercy and blessings for all. Note: here you can offer thanks to God for all that has been conceded to you, and formulate any requests you may have, either for yourself or for others.